Welcome to Top Advisor Marketing, where you will learn how to become a prolific online influencer, attract more ideal clients, and grow your practice. Brought to you by Top Advisor Podcasting, a done-for-you podcasting solution built just for trusted advisors. And now, your co-hosts of Top Advisor Marketing, Kirk Lowe and Matt Halloran.
Hello and welcome to the third part of our three-part series with Adri Miller-Heckman. We have gone over a bunch of different things. So one of the big things that we talked about was the overall idea of what really branding is and how you use it. And then Adri actually interviewed me, which was a weird experience for me because I'm not usually on that side of the microphone, about how to execute. But today we're squarely back in Adri's corner, which we're going to talk right now about marketing and bringing things to market. And as we were preparing for this, we were just talking about the need to be willing to take risks and knowing that some of your marketing is not going to work 100%, but if you don't get up to the plate, you're never going to have a chance to hit a home run. So Adri Miller-Heckman, once again, she's the founder at Femex Advisors. Please make sure you connect with her on social media and make sure you connect with her on her website. Sign up for her stuff. She has great conference calls. She has great webinars. Adri, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Matt. Always love to be here.
All right, let's talk about how do you even define it? Why don't we start with an operational definition of how we're going to explain today?
That's technical for me. An operational, I think if I were to give it 3 key points, let's say that.
Okay.
One of the key points for today is what are the benefits? And they are so beyond what you think. There are multi-levels of benefits of creating a podcast in the world of women. Second is, where do you need to start, right? And what are the steps you need to take? And 3, you've got to make this a defining moment. And it is about taking a risk, but we're going to show you that the risks are not what you think. Does that make sense?
You already peaked. I'm super excited about today already. So yeah, let's dive right in. Let's talk about the benefits and all of the different kinds of benefits. That's really, I'm super interested in where your brain is on that.
Well, most advisors in the old days, right? We used to do, I remember there was an advisor in my office and he would host a seminar about a money manager or a mutual fund. He'd have 35 butts in the seat or buying units at Polly's Pies for breakfast, and they measured the results by how many accounts they opened and shares they sold. Done. So it was, and the follow-up was okay, but that was an immediate result. And while in our society now, we like immediate results, right, with the internet and everything else, but in marketing, the results are almost compounding. You will get benefits today. You will get business today. But it's the long-term consistency that opens this funnel, and eventually all your business comes from referrals. And so, but it's the consistency of doing these types of things. And it could be podcasting, it could be webinars, it could be a conference call, it could be a pay-to-play event, it could be a branding event. I don't care. But whatever you do, as you build this and your focus on women, you're really creating a compound effect for your business so that in a few years, you don't need to go out and seek out clients. They're coming to you.
ROI is something I hear ad nauseum, right? So the return on my marketing investment. In fact, Adri, I just had a sales call with this guy today, and he said to me, Matt, how do I measure success? And it's there are so many things that aren't necessarily measurable. Adri, you've been doing this for a long time. How do you get over that? How do you convince people that the focus solely on ROI is not always the best way to see if your marketing's working?
As the industry progresses and as we're moving away from prospecting, selling, and closing to building relationships, inspiring and motivating, the what you would consider the sales process is a little bit longer because it's very relationship based, not transactional based. It's not based upon a product. And so your real focus, even with the coaching I do, what happens is as soon as the advisor has developed their story and this compelling message, and it's a very extensive, compelling message, and it's built around who they are, and they start sharing it, they're going to immediately get more attention than ever before. It may speed up the process, the sales funnel, because you're much more clear about what you offer and your value. And your value has nothing to do with the products, the services, the firm. It has nothing to your experience. Those are commodities. And so you need to be reaching out to people in a variety of ways. And over time, you start to see, wow, I find there's this flow of new business coming in, and wow, it happens to be primarily women with a few men in there who mention my website. So it's not as crystal clear and linear. But I think if you have to do an ROI, if you're that kind of person where you need to quantify this investment, first of all, if it's not fun, it's not going to happen. Don't do it, right? If it doesn't charge you up, because then you're eliminating a powerful component in this marketing. And when you love it and you do it and it's fun, you will get the maximum amount of benefits to it. But there was a really, really fabulous company, some advisors that left Smith Barney in Southern California, and they called me and they said, we're independent. And they had about 100 million under management. And it was 2 men and a woman. And I said, okay, you're going independent and you're going to be competing with all the Merrill Lynch, all the Morgan Stanley, all the Smith Barney, and then all the independent advisors. So what is it that you can do to launch this move and really build a brand for yourself? And while they were open but somewhat resistant, they started to utilize my Savvy Women Invest on Purpose seminar. And they had 12 women in the room every month, Savvy Women Invest on Purpose. And they kept doing it. And then when they had a new advisor come in, he was 40 years old. He'd never been in the business. And it was his time to start going out into the field. And I said, this is what I want him to do. I just want him to focus on the women's market. That's it. I don't want him to go to a center of influence, talk about his wealth management, but no. And next thing you know, they start to recognize, and remember, they're in it about 70% at this point. All of a sudden they go, this is working. Look at the flow of clients coming in. So at that point, they go all in. And they start a radio show called Savvy Up. And now they're doing webinars. And this has become their primary source. But if they looked at the first year and said, well, I can't measure a return on my assets. I have no idea whether all these new accounts are coming from this marketing or not. You don't know. You can start to ask, how did you hear about us? But you have to watch the flow and the pattern and how many new accounts and how many assets do you really need to bring in to cover the expense of this marketing tool? And that's a very important thing so that you can say, okay, I just need $1 million account to cover the expense. Those are my annual fees. But marketing should be multi-tiered, especially this day and age. You need to be on social media. You need to have a podcast. You need to have a physical event, right? You need to be maybe hosting 2010 conference calls, 20 minutes to teach and 10 minutes to talk. And so what happens is when you're using a multitude of modems, a couple things are happening here. One, and this is so important and you don't realize it, but talk is cheap. And when you meet somebody or a center of influence and you say you focus on women, put up or shut up, right? Because they want to see that you do what you say you do. So putting all of these activities in a marketable calendar of events is probably the most valuable marketing tool you will ever have. You don't need a brochure. You don't need a business card. You need a marketing calendar. And every quarter on that calendar, what I love about podcasting is that you don't have to host events to have a marketing calendar now. You're doing these podcasts and on your calendar, it's, 2 podcasts a month. That's what Top Advisor provides, 2 podcasts a month. And now I've got 6 podcasts listed on this calendar card that looks awesome, is really designed well, and this is what you hand out to people when you meet them. And they don't throw it away. If I were to do any mailers today, I would mail my calendar of event card because people will hold it up. They'll pin it up on their bulletin board. They'll share it with people because this is something they might be able to participate in. So doing these types of events, you have to understand the concept of marketing. When Nike came up, if I asked you the slogan for Nike, what is it, Matt?
Just do it.
Oh, everybody knows it. Do you think everybody knew it right away? Do you think it drew business immediately? No. And what happens is when financial advisors don't get that immediate return on investment, they stop.
Yep.
Biggest mistake ever. You will never gain traction and momentum. It's like telling your client about the 7% compounding return, and when they don't get it in the first year of investing, they stop. It's the same concept. So instead of thinking of these vehicles as transactional, you need to think of them as having a compounding return. A compounding return. So the other thing I like about this is every time you incorporate a new marketing tool, you get to launch. So let's just say I started this year, the year of the woman. And I started in January 2019, launching my new message, my brand, my focus, and here's why I do this, and here's my story. Boom. And advisors get so many responses to these emails, more so than ever before. Then, 3 or 6 months later, I say, we're having such a great time here. We're launching a podcast to help women become more confident and engaged in their financial affairs. Spread the word. Boom. Another great positive thing to focus on. Maybe 6 months later, we're launching our Savvy Women Invest on Purpose workshop. This, combined with our podcasts, will give you everything you need as a woman to take back control of your life. So you're always getting something to launch. And I think the other benefits, and you can talk more about this, Matt, the process of creating a podcast, one of the greatest benefits is the COIs. Now, I'm going to say COIs we think of COIs as attorneys, divorce attorneys, estate planning, CPAs, people that are building a business, that have clientele. But you can also, it gives you a reason to reach out to highly affluent women in your community who you don't know. They don't know who the heck you are, but you're going to open that door because you'd like to feature them on a podcast to empower women. And you go in and you meet with this woman who is very wealthy and very successful. And you share with her, the focus of my business is empowering women. And I realize that I can't work with every woman. Most of my clients have $1 million or more of investable assets. But my podcasts are my way of helping every woman. And I would love to feature you as a guest. Now, in that one little conversation, I know you heard it all, Matt.
I'm sitting here with this huge smile on my face, Adri, because you just loaded up that statement with so many powerful words.
Right?
That was freaking awesome. So, yeah.
And you have just said, I work with women who have millions. So wink, wink, I get you. And I know your club, but I am so committed to women that I do these other things for them. And so now you've totally interested her in what you do. I promise you, she's going to want to refer you to other women. And that's another question you're going to have. What other women do you know that you associate with that could be powerful guests that are truly committed to empowering women? Boom. Now you've got referral source.
Yep. I love you're making that. So if everybody just paused and rewound this and listened to the words and how Adri positioned this from a networking perspective, or however you want to look at it, is really, truly, it's so powerful when it comes to networking. You are making that person feel so special. But I want to get back to another thing that you can hear in Adri's voice. And if you don't have this in your practice, then you truly need to hire somebody to help you figure this out. You have to find that thing that really makes you excited and passionate. If your passion is to truly help women gain more control over their finances in their life, empower women, anything along those lines, if that's not coming from your heart, if that's only coming from your head, you're going to get eaten alive. And the other thing too, so that guest, so we're going to use that scenario. So that guest comes on the podcast. One of the most important things for you to do, or maybe you have them on a panel, or maybe you have them speak at one of your events. You need to make sure that guest has a great time, is highly highlighted, and leaves with something. Whether that's applause, whether that's a thank you, whether they get to pitch their products and services, whatever that is, if you're able to satisfy those things, you are hitting literally on all cylinders and you're going to blow past your competition. What do you think, Adri?
Oh my God, there's so many thoughts going through my head, right? So I love what you said. And it's interesting. Whenever one of my clients said, hey, I got a great referral today, 1.2 million. I said, so who gave it to you? Oh, Joe, this attorney. So what did you do for Joe? Oh, I sent him a thank you card. Really? Really? How much would you pay to get a highly qualified, hot lead? What would you pay? And I said, my God, send them something. So what I'm thinking is, after you invite this woman, and think about this, if she's really good on the podcast, then you're going to say, you know what? Why don't we do a joint event? And let's do an empowerment event and have you we'll both speak. Because now you know she's good. And if she's think of it as in a political position. Boy, she's got a social media following. And she's going to want to post that link and that recording on that social media following. There are so many legs to that one transaction or that one introduction where you get to offer her an opportunity to get a recording, to be on a podcast, to show women she cares. And then I would send her, if it's a relationship you really want to nurture, I would follow up the podcast with a thank you. And, you could just do a fabulous box of Godiva chocolates that goes to her office that she's going to share with everybody in the office. And they're going to say, where did you get the Godiva chocolates? Oh, I got it from Adri. She hosts this podcast, Empowering Women. Guess what? She's now marketing me.
Yep.
Or you can have fun and send maybe a box of custom-made cookies in the form of a women's shoe, high-heeled shoe, and it goes to her office and said, thank you for stepping up and empowering women.
Adri, we had a guest on a little while ago, and one of these stories came out. I'm going to tell it very, very quickly. So there's a gentleman, his name is Joe Polish, and he's a partner with Dan Sullivan. He runs this amazing marketing company, and he takes that even farther. And what he does is before they even meet, he will talk to that powerful woman's right-hand person and just find out a little bit about them, right? So let's say she's an avid kayaker, right? And so then what he will do is he'll go online and he will find what is the latest, greatest kayaking product, and he'll freaking buy it. And so after the podcast is done or after the joint speaking event or whatever, he sends it to her saying, and so here's the best thing. Every time she gets in the kayak, she's going to think about him. Right? When you're talking about legs, Adri, and the fact that this is not linear, there is this concentric circle upon circle upon circle, that is so, so powerful. And I love that you said, and this is so true, that they are going to share this with their social media network. And if you really do it well, you'll do what I've done with you, because this isn't the first time you've been on the podcast. You were so flipping good. I had such a good time with you. We had fun. I said, Adri, I'd like to have you back. So I'm always going to have a powerful reason to reconnect with that powerful person because they've already agreed to come back on the show. Or the speaking event. I don't necessarily mean that podcasting is the be all and end all, but maybe it's a speaking event and you had such a great time. And that's when you say, I'd love to do this again sometime. And she says, yes. Ding, 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 ding. Now you're not coming across as a pushy person. You're coming across as, hey, let's do this again. We had a great time.
So I really think you have to look at, and the reason I like podcasting, right? I tell financial advisors, you need two things to build a good business. You need a really powerful, clear message, which most don't have, and you need a database. You need leads. The biggest challenge is for those new advisors that are young, they have no leads. They have no database to work from. This helps you build the database. Not only is it a great marketing, not only are you validating your commitment to women, it's creating more consistency. You're doing this twice a month on a consistent basis. You're marketing it consistently. And think about podcasting over 2 years. How many leads will you build simply by giving you a reason to reach out to high-level influencers, people on boards of charitable organizations, politicians? Holy cow. And I never even thought about that before. The hardest thing, financial advisors come in the office and they know they have to call clients. But they're like, okay, what am I going to talk to them about? Well, just like you talked about the Dan Sullivan idea, right? There are two ways to go about this business. One is high level, high catering. And then there is wow them with consistency. So for example, in my business, I had a process. If I got $1 million referral, I would in those days send $100 box of Godiva, the $50 box for this $500,000 account, whatever. I had it all set up, easy, in my credenza, didn't eat them, but in my credenza, ready to go. I needed a system where I didn't have to make a decision. and it still had an impact. So what you want at first is you can customize it, but unless you're really shooting for extremely high profile, that process may not be the most efficient use of your time. Or it might. So you want both processes, and I forgot why I went into this. What was I saying?
Well, I think you were just reinforcing the idea of the multiple touches. I like the fact that you just brought that up as being very systematized, because, you know, the one-off things is what's going to kill your team. It's going to drive them crazy if you're, you know, changing it up all of the time. Okay, I have to ask you the most important question of this 3-part webinar series or podcasting series, which is, how do you get people to take action? That's something I've struggled with so much. And when I was a coach and a consultant, you know, people would come up with these ideas, or they wouldn't do what you just talked about, which is following through, understanding that every good marketing plan takes 12 to 18 months to really start getting massive traction. And if you stick with it, then it is truly going to be the next great thing. How do you get our listeners to get off their chair and take action to either hire you, use your Savvy Women Invest on Purpose, use your branding and marketing techniques, or get them to sign up to do podcasts, whether that's with us or not, but just to take action? Help me help our audience make this the greatest year they've ever had.
Okay, so I'm sitting there thinking, right? Let me write this down for a second. If you have thought about doing a podcast 3 times, then you need to do it. Because what was it you said earlier, Matt, about if you don't do it, if you don't...
Oh, a day of delay is a day of decay.
You got it, right? Part of being an entrepreneur is taking action. And it's often in the Colby scores, the quick start. I'm a very high quick start, a 9 out of 10.
Yep, me too.
Okay, so I think you'll find that most successful entrepreneurs are quick start. We have a vision and we act. Now, I have a very strong personal belief that every path I go down, whether it works or doesn't, it will eventually fizzle no matter what you choose, and then you've got to evolve. But every path takes me to a new path. So when I was a financial advisor and I was hosting some events, some were a bomb. All right, so I canceled them. A couple years ago, I came back from surgery, launched a whole new live workshop. It was a lot of work. And I realized, too soon, cancel it. No big deal. We get so worried about how it's going to appear. No, you got to get out there, make a commitment, a new project, 1 year, commit to it. 1 year. Give it time to really build legs. But make a damn commitment. You don't want to be, I think I shared on the last call, did I tell you about the dippers, waders, and divers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Don't be a dipper. You're just touching your toe in the water. You're just becoming, you're on the fringes all the time. Now, those type of people are fine, but they're never really going to lead the pack. It's the waders. The difference between the waders and the divers, we're divers, Matt. We're divers.
Yes, ma'am.
We go, this is what I'm going to commit to. I am all in. I am all in. And so we're just going to go to the top of the cliff and go, we're going for it. The waders may want to go for it. They want to get in, but they need a step-by-step. They need more structure. And that's where using companies like you, like me, we do it for you. We don't do it for you. You do a lot for them. But if you're going to do this, don't try and do it alone. That is not your strength. Your strength is building relationships, or for the few that are really into the portfolio management, building portfolios. But for most of you, the part of this business you enjoy is the interaction. It's the interaction. And so 2 things you must have that go hand in hand. You need to have a message, and you need somebody to help you get to that message. And I will tell you that the messages that we create last 10 years, and it's so consistent. And once you have a message, you understand your real purpose and your focus, you've got more direction, you've got more clarity, you know, yes, this is the path I'm going to take. Then you go to Top Advisor and do your podcast, and they will step you through that process.
The biggest feedback the biggest feedback that we've gotten when we first started Adri was we didn't have the process. And I love your process. So I do want to make sure that people understand that Adri has been a successful financial advisor. She is going to show the waiters out there that there is a step-by-step process to market to women successfully, and not just market to women successfully, but make a huge change in your practice. If you in your belly feel so strongly, Adri, I can't even tell you how many times I've worked with advisors and they're like, Matt, my favorite people to work with are widows. Really? So what do you do to market to widows? What do you do to make sure that your message is going to be entirely copacetic with that target market or divorcees? And they're like, I don't know why it's so rewarding. I'm like, because it's part of who you are. If you're listening to these podcasts, and if you've ever paid any attention to anything Adri's ever written, and if it resonates with you, you have to, you can wade in, that's fine. But the important thing is you got to get into the damn water.
Well, right? And there are 2, you really have to make a commitment. Okay, I'm committed. I'm going to build my message.
Yep.
And I'm committed. I'm going to pick up a strategy. Maybe it's events. Maybe it's my Savvy seminar. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's podcasting. Pick a venue and work it. And, you know, it was interesting what you said. I just started coaching a woman from Canada, and she works for one of the top firms up there. And we had our strategy call, and she said, so I was thinking about this. You know, I went through divorce. I really want to work with divorce, but I also like these women in business. And so I'm going, okay, great. That's a target market. That is not a tribal market. So I said, well, let me ask you something. And she shared with me when her friends are going through divorce. And she said, I'm going to use, I say, what do you say to your friends? And she says, I tell them to get their shit together, to get it together. And I said, okay, why? Because you have to take ownership in your life, okay? And how do you do that? You have to be driven and committed. You have to make time for yourself. You have to make yourself a priority. And all of a sudden, I said, do you realize that you just defined your tribal market?
Yep.
Women who are driven to be the best they can be. It doesn't matter if they're going through divorce, but she could not work with a victim. She couldn't. She wants women who want to get their shit together, right? Who wants to get their ducks in a row. And that immediately spelled out where she needs to go. 1. And I said, okay, so if you think I need to get my act together, what are the 4 steps I should do? She goes, well, you got to make yourself first a priority right now. Then what? You got to get organized. Then what? She said this. Then what? This. I'm like, oh my God. That is her tribal market. So everybody has a tribal market.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can tap into that, it's like hitting liquid gold. Liquid gold.
And it's energy giving too, right? That's the other thing that I absolutely love. And guy, you can hear it in Adri's voice right there. I mean, you have to find that thing about your career that floats your boat to the point of getting that level of excited.
Yeah. And it's so funny because on these coaching calls, when I'm getting to know them and I'm hearing, and then I ask a question and they kind of get loud. And I said, did you hear your voice? That is such an indicator. So if I go back to, and I think we talked about this on the last call, belief plus emotion creates passion, and passion moves mountains. And so whether you're even a good portfolio manager or whether you're even I was a lousy financial advisor, but I got tons of clients because they knew I would do my best to take care of them. And thank God Smith Barney had all the portfolio managers. But when you have a message that is so amazingly powerful and authentic, you cannot help but believe it. You cannot help but share it with emotion, which turns into passion, which dramatically accelerates the relationship process. And now you take that message and you put it at the beginning of your podcast.
You put it in front of everything.
Go ahead.
You put it in front of everything.
Everything. You know, I talked about how Oprah on her podcast says, the best thing you can give yourself is time. Time to reflect. And what was yours? The tools. When you do your intro, it's so automatic, you don't even know.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is. So I don't even really think about it anymore, but yeah, I mean, it's setting all of the appropriate expectations so that people can be successful.
Yep. And think about this, when you're using the same message, and certainly you're storing your compelling message in your value statement, they all say the same thing, but a little bit different style. Your brain is so relieved because every time you meet somebody, you're not trying to recreate who you are just to fit them. That's exhausting. It's exhausting and it's never well done. And so when you can go out there and say, I focus on empowering women to gain more control over their financial life. Really? What do you mean by that? Well, most of my clients are smart, driven women. Blah, 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 blah. There's a formula. There is a formula that is populated with you, your personality, and your words. And that's what you need.
Adri, what can people do to engage you? What is the best way for them to reach out? Let's talk a little bit about some of the services that you offer so that we can wrap up today's podcast.
You know, the best thing to do is go to www.femxadvisor.com. Go to the coaching page. Look around. Everything we do is designed to help financial advisors attract, retain, and engage women more effectively. That can be the whole source of your focus. Add a tool like the podcasting. I mean, you're going to be on fire. So go to that page, schedule a strategy session with me. I don't know if I can help you. And I don't know if it's the time and the place for you. But if we talk for 30 minutes and I learn a little bit about you, I can direct you to the right path for you.
Adri, thank you so much for all of your thought, leadership, and wisdom on these last 3 podcasts. We absolutely think what you do is fantastic. You are a friend and somebody who we just have so much respect for at Top Advisor Marketing. So thank you for this mini-series.
Thank you, Matt. Love it.
If you have been listening to this, and if you follow Adri's writing, and if you've really paid any attention to focusing on women as your market, what has been found over and over again is if you change the way that you communicate to make it more receptive and make it more tailored toward focusing on women, you're going to find out that you're going to deepen your relationships with your male clients too, because it is communication techniques, powerful communication techniques that work so well. And Adri Miller-Heckman is the person who can help you create that message, create everything surrounding that message so that you can go out into the world and take it over. So if you have not subscribed to the podcast, make sure you click that subscribe now button below. That way, every time we come out with a new one of these, it'll show up directly on your listening device. And please take a moment to give us a quick rating and a review. That'll help us out a whole bunch. And for everybody at Femex Advisor and Adri Miller-Heckman, this is Matt Halloran. And guess what? We'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.
Are you ready to change the way you communicate with your clients? Are you tired of being the best kept secret in your area? Learn how to become a prolific online influencer, attract more ideal clients, and grow your business. Contact us today and see what the power of podcasting can do for your business. Click on the Contact Us link on our website at topadvisormarketing.com and set up a call to learn more. Follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook for more updates and information.
This was brought to you by Iris.xyz, a platform helping financial professionals become better in business and life through new media and new voices. Visit them and learn more at Iris.xyz.